everyone, thanks for joining the Atman show. And I have a very special guest. She's Kavitha. So, Kavitha, go ahead and give a brief introduction about yourself before we talk on the topic about 8 things that prove science was really involved in Hindu mythologies and epics. So, go ahead, Kavitha.
Yeah, a namaskar to everybody and a very good evening to all the viewers of the Atman show. And once again, thank you so much for inviting me to speak on certain things on your channel. Well, today we're going to talk about something different. I'm Kavitha, and I'm basically a storyteller, which is my passion, and I tell stories about our mythology so that our children in this era learn about mythology, which is very very interesting for all of us, and we learn a lot of things. Well, last time we had spoken about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the first five adhyayas. Today, we're going to talk about something different. And that different is like science and technology. Basically, when we hear this science and technology and when we try to relate this science and technology with the ancient era, there is an exclamatory mark or a surprised look. Like, did science and technology actually exist in the ancient world? Uh, Today, if you ask any child who is a 10th standard child or a 5th standard child, and if you tell them that, do you know that during the times of Mahabharat and or the Ramayana, we had science also and we had technology also. They will actually give you a very surprised look and they will be like, oh man, what you're talking. Are you serious about it that science and technology existed in that era also? But yes, science and technology did exist in that era also, and which is very clear from the various manuscripts which we have in our possession.
Okay, so let's begin with the first one, Vimanas, the flying machine. Vimanas were said to be able to travel into space between different planets. So, can you talk about that related to Ramayana and Mahabharata?
Yeah, of course. I will just talk about that, and we're going to come on demand. But just a few lines before we start, I just want to tell something that we say that technology is getting more advanced day by day. We comprise fabulous improvements in terms of information technology, medical science, architecture, engineering. But in ancient times, if we refer Indian mythology, our Vedas, the Puranas, Ramayana, Bharata, Mahabharata, Upanishads, and Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, we come to know that there were number of unique inventions, great discoveries in almost every field. Not only one or two, but every field which we talk about in which we have in our today's world. Today, science and religion say that a single entity or force created this universe and it is omnipresent, maintaining and governing the fundamental machinery of everything in this and other universes. So, the Upanishads, what I said, it uh, gives the factuals, and it has stated all the facts, and it is clear that we had very nice advanced science and technology in our ancient world. Who's named Rig Veda. It proclaims one simple thing. It says that Ekam Sat, Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Ekam Sat means the only truth. This means that the only truth, which is the God, is named by different names. That means one truth is there, which is the God, and there are n number of names given. That means the only people like us describe it in a different ways, but it is only one and one truth. Rig Veda also tells us about the noble thought, that the noble thought should come to us from all directions. So that is why it's like Rig Veda is giving the knowledge to us, which existed in that universe. And from there, we come to know that whatever technology was there, and it was like so well advanced. I'll
When you
just give you
said
one
that,
small example.
when you said that their universe means something multiverse, are you talking about some other universe, not this planet Earth?
Not exactly. Yeah, matlab, if you see that today we have bifurcations of countries, but when you talk and when you go deep inside it and the manuscripts, what you see, you would actually come to know that's another again a very big topic to cover. That you would know that there were no bifurcations. This entire universe was just one. No bifurcations of the countries like Europe or UK or other countries, India, and there was no bifurcation. It was like one. And because if you go and see, like in Thailand, you would find there are a lot of temples of, and they are traits of Ramayan, Lord Rama, Lord Ganesha.
Here, this is Monday, ruled by the moon. This is the sun god, and we have the other deities of the day also depicted here. This is Monday.
Similarly, like when you go towards like Vietnam and all, there also Indonesia, you find the same things. So it was like one big universe, not like in this universe how it is like we have different countries altogether, but that time it was not there.
Okay.
So I will just give you a small example, like in how we relate that time we had uh, the science and technology was so clear. Like in today's world, in this modern era, our scientists took almost 6 months to know the distance between the sun and the earth. But if you would have heard about Hanuman Chalisa, which has been written by Tulsidas ji, in that there is a verse which says that, and from that verse it is clear that what is the distance between the sun and the earth. The specific verse in question is the 15th verse, which was interpreted mathematically, supposedly yields a remarkable, accurate approximation of AU. AU is the astronomical unit. So I'll just tell you the Doha, which says, which gives the total distance between the sun and the earth. Yug Yug Shahastra, Jojan Parbhanu, Lilyo Tahi, Madhur Paljani. So Jug is equals to 12,000 years. One Shahasra is equals to 1,000. And one Jojan is equals to 8 miles. And when you multiply everything, then it comes to 96 million miles, which is approximately the same distance which has been uh, calculated by our modern era scientists. That is 98 million miles. In the manuscripts, it's written about the medicines. It is mentioned about the Dhanvantri, which we're going to talk about a little later. In those days, the medical practitioners or the doctors, they used to just touch the pulses or the nerves of the individuals, and they used to come to know that what they are going through or what they are suffering from, just by touching the nerves or by seeing the female. They used to come to know that the female is pregnant. Uh, and suppose if some person is suffering from some malignancy, they used to just use their, so basically they were like so well trained and they had so much of knowledge that they did not need any equipments to find out that what the person is going through. They just used to touch the nerves or the pulses and they used to come to know. Similarly, we talk about architecture and engineering. So the architecture and engineering which was used in that time, in that ancient world, if you say so, it is like so amazing, astonishing. Today also we have lot of temples down south. We have lot of monuments. We have a lot of remains from those from the ancient era, which when we see, we are just literally amazed. I don't know whether you've heard about it. Not there's one temple in south, which is known as Veerbhadra temple. It is a 70 pillar temple, and that temple has one pillar which is a hanging pillar from the ceiling. Yeah, you heard me right. It is like a hanging pillar from the ceiling.
Swami temple in India is a very mysterious place. But in the 16th century, the Veerbhadra Swami temple in Lepakshi is perched on a hillock called the Kurma Sela, tortoise shaped rock. It is culturally and historically significant for India. This ancient temple has inscriptions on every pillar and masterfully crafted roofs. The most astonishing architectural marvel of Lipakshi is the hanging pillar of Veerbhadra temple. The hanging pillar in Lipakshi is a medieval architectural wonder to witness. The small villages you were most likely to neglect has so much hidden in its treasure chest, you will be shocked and amazed. The pillar does not rest on the ground completely but hangs in the air, with enough space between its base and the ground. In this temple, you can see many people doing the same thing. Put a piece of cloth underneath and slide it around the other side, proving that the pillar is disconnected from the floor. This is considered one of the wonders of India.
That means it does not touch the ground, and there's a space between the ground and the pillar, and you can just literally like move around one thin sheet of paper or probably a thin cloth from one side to other. And there are a lot of other examples which we have, uh, another temple is there where Lord Ganesha temple is there, where you can pierce one thin stick from one ear, and the stick comes out from the other. So that was the architecture which was used in those days. About the science, they had various machineries and equipments, and then they had this Viman. So Viman, if you spell it out, it is like Vimana. What does it mean? V Vi means bird, and Mana Mana means like. So it is like bird which could fly high in the sky. So Vimans were basically the flying palaces or the chariots described in Hindu texts and Sanskrit. The Pushpak Viman of Ravana, which a lot of people know, which he used to during the Sita Haran. It is the most uh, quoted example of the Viman. It is mentioned in the epics that advanced aerodynamic vehicles similar to rockets. There are a lot of rishis who have mentioned in the manuscripts on Viman. They had different names like Garg, Narayan Muni, Pushpak, etc. Maharaja Bhoj mentions that Viman could fly with the use of uh, mercury. See, today when we think, no, how the Viman used to fly that time. So today when we sit and we think, then we think that maybe they had some powers and that is why the Vimans could fly. Otherwise, what, they did not have fuel, they did not have any other thing, but still they could fly. So as I mentioned that Maharaja Bhoj mentioned that Viman could fly with the use of mercury. And you would be astonished to know that NASA has also given indication of making aircrafts using mercury. Isn't it like something which is like they are taking up from the ancient days? Well, of course, as I said earlier, that it is easy for us to believe, but yes, the word mystery fits well because in ancient times the technology used was the combination of the mantras and many other things to invoke the energies to make extraordinary objects.
Designed for a Vimana. Why put so many smaller Vimanas and controllers attached to the main Vimana, right? Today, we build rockets with multiple boosters. These boosters look similar to the main rocket, but the boosters are smaller. The boosters are initially attached to the main rocket, but they're designed to fall off at a certain altitude. And interestingly, you can see a similar design made 1,000 years ago. Smaller Vimanas or boosters are attached to the main Vimana. And the word Vimana itself means spacecraft in Sanskrit language. And
mentioned in the manuscripts and Maharishi Bharadwaj, the Vamic Shastra, which is about aeronautics.
Thank you. Let's move on to our next topic, nuclear weapons. Tir Kaman. So, it is said that a few excerpts from the Mahabharata have caused um, doubt in the mind of historians, indicating the possibility of nuclear weapons being used in the Mahabharata war or post war. So, but modern archaeology surveys have slowly started to provide us valuable clues. So, I actually did one episode where we found in our research that in that Harappan and Mohenjo-daro area, they could find the remains of radioactive remains. So, what do you have to say about this nuclear use of nuclear weapons in our ancient times like Mahabharata?
Rig Veda is the first book of Hindus, which gives lot of information to us. Similarly, in the Rig Veda, it is mentioned uh, Ano Aniyan, Mahato Mahyan. Anu in itself means atomic. So that means there was an atomic energy also during our ancient uh, times. So this line basically means that the greatest of the great is hidden in the smallest of the small. This forms the basis of the atomic energy. A few scholars opine that the descriptions mentioned are so clearly presented that it gives the idea of an actual nuclear bomb used in the wars in ancient India. Researchers like David Hatcher Childress fervently argue that the verse mentioned in Mahabharata is clear proof of knowledge of nuclear weapons possessed by ancient Indians. Such knowledge could have been possible only if the destructive weapon was used by the ancient Indians. Now, if you talk about Mahabharata, the war which happened during the Mahabharata, and if you see the numbers, there are 1.6 million people deaths which were recorded at that time, just in a span of 18 days. Now, can you imagine 18 days and 1.6 billion deaths? Definitely, it is not possible without an intervention of something like nuclear weapon, because there was an involvement of weapons which could do a mass destruction. We have, as you said, that we have proofs from the events in Mahabharata and Ramayana, which are the two major Hindu epics, which is about love and war and truth and deceit. And these feature characteristics using unextinguishable fire and weapons with the destructive power of nuclear arsenal, proven that the text which has been written, it is factual, because humans did not develop the art of fiction writing just few centuries ago. So there was no fiction writing during those ancient in that ancient world, because if there were there because it has been proven this is the factual things which have been recorded in our manuscripts. So I'll just tell you the few incidents which has been pretty clear in Mahabharata, and the verse which says is, a single projectile charged with all the power in the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 10,000 suns, rose in all its splendor. It was an unknown weapon, an icon thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes an entire race. So basically, it was like one projectile, a single projectile, which it clearly says it was a single projectile which came, and that had the power of 10,000 suns, which actually ended everything. So during the time, the corpses were so burnt that it was unrecognizable. Their hair, their nails just fell out. The pottery broke without any reason, and the birds turned white, and they were like dead. And there was so much of fire that, and the burning sensation was so much that the soldiers, they threw themselves in a river because they were feeling the burn. So if we talk about the nuclear weapon which was used during the Hiroshima Nagasaki, this was probably much more than that. Hence the researchers say that such in-depth description is only possible if a destructive weapon was used. by the ancient Indians in ancient times.
Move on to our next topic, cloning. In Srimad Bhagavad, it has been mentioned that when His Excellence Nimi was dead, the seers, by process of mantha, perhaps human cloning in modern times, created by a new baby from his dead body. The baby was called Janaka as it was out of Mantha, cloning of his father. It was Videha as it was born out of non-sexual process. The science of cloning was well known and practiced during the Mahabharata times. So, can you throw some light about cloning during Mahabharata time?
It is written that the Kauravas were created by splitting the single embryo into 100 parts and growing each part in separate kund or a container. Because obviously, see, if you talk about a lot of births which were taken during those times with the blessings, or maybe like uh, by eating something, but obviously 100 children cannot be born in born out of like one human being or a female. That you also know, I also know. So these 100 Kauravas which were born, as I said, it was like split into like 100, one embryo was like split into 100, and then it was put into different containers, and that's how they were born.
Okay. Moving on to our next topic, organ transplant. We know that there were are two types of replacement of body parts. First, there are parts like hand, arms, and legs, which are not vital organs. Then there are transplants of vital organs. The one instance where one can conceive of a combination of the two is transplanting the entire head. There are several accounts of how Ganesha received his head. According to one, Shani was among the guests of Ganesha's birth. When Shani looked directly at the child, the baby's head turned to ash. Parvati began to wail. When this happened, Vishnu flew off in the search of a substitute head. He found on the bank of a river a sleeping elephant. He severed the beast's head and fixed it onto the body of Ganesha. Thus, head replacement would be the most sophisticated organ transplant one can imagine, and Hindu mythology says that was successfully done. This proves science was far more ahead at that time.
Parvati ji was like taking a bath, and Shivji was not there for a few months. He had gone on for some war, and during that time, Lord Ganesha was born from Parvati ji, and Parvati ji was taking a bath, and she said to Lord Ganesha that nobody should enter into this premises. Just be a guard to it, and he just listened to his mother, and he was like guarding that place. And during that time, Parvati ji also did not know that Lord Shiva is coming back, and of course Lord Ganesha did not know at all that Shivji is his father. So when he came, he stopped, Ganesha stopped Lord Shiva, and to which Lord Shiva was very angry, and he was like, I'm not going to listen to anything. This is like my house, and whatever happened during that time. So he got so angry that he just cut his head, and he said, how can you stop listening to this? In some time, this chaos, whatever was happening, Parvati ji came out, and she saw that the head of his son was not there, and she was like frivolous, that how can you do this? And but then Lord Shiva said, I didn't know about all these things, so he was stopping me to go in, so I did. So he said, I don't know anything. This has to be like, my son has to be alive with the proper head. So he could not place it again, of course, back on his body. So he said that you please go. And the first thing what he saw was an elephant. So that's how an elephant's head came on Lord Ganesha.
Nice. So let's move on to our next topic, live telecast. As Dhritarashtra was blind but wanted to know what was happening at the battlefield, Krishna gifted Sanjaya with Divya Drishti so that he could see a live telecast of Kurukshetra and describe that to Dhritarashtra. Divya Drishti is analogous to modern television set in sense that Krishna could not give it directly to Dhritarashtra but needed Sanjay. Imagine a central computer system with wireless links that can accept voice commands or thoughts. Then you can understand how cameras in the heavens, as in satellites of these days, would point out to location which Dhritarashtra asked Sanjay to describe about. Therefore, Divya Drishti's modern description is a television set with a wireless link to the satellite and and access right to the system to control cameras. This is the access permission was granted by system administrator Krishna. So, do you have to say anything about that Divya Drishti?
During this war, he could not go to the war front, but he wanted to know that what was happening at the uh, war zone. So there are many manuscripts which mentions, like you said, but Divya Drishti, which Sanjay had. It was basically the divine powers which he could see the war events at a distance of some 80 kilometers. If we compare that from in with the current time, then this kind of teleport is only possible with a high speed of 1000 mbps internet, virtual reality devices, and multiple automatic drone cameras. Then only it is possible to see something which is some 80 kilometers away from us.
Okay. Moving to our next topic, time travel. We look into ancient texts, we can find a number of references to time travel. In Hindu mythology, there is a story of King Raivata Kakudumi who travels to meet the creator Brahma.
Of purity and truth, a benevolent king named Kakudmi ruled the glorious city of Kushastali. King Kakudmi was blessed with a daughter named Revti, who was not only exceptionally beautiful, but also remarkably tall. Yet her father, King Kakudmi, faced an extraordinary challenge. He found it nearly impossible to discover a worthy groom for his talented daughter. He believed that no ordinary man could match her. In search of guidance, King Kakudmi embarked on a cosmic voyage with Revti, a journey that would lead them millions of light years away from Earth to the realm of Lord Brahma. When they reached Brahmaloka, they found Lord Brahma engrossed in a musical performance by the Gandharvas, so they patiently waited for the performance to conclude. After the music ended, Lord Brahma inquired about the reason for their visit. King Kakudmi humbly explained, "I can't find a suitable match for my daughter. I've come for your guidance." He then presented the list of candidates he had in mind. To this, Lord Brahma laughed and revealed that time flows differently in various realms of existence. During their short wait in Brahmaloka, 27 Chaturyugas, vast cosmic cycles, had passed on Earth, and all the candidates had long departed from this world. Brahma explained that Kakudmi had lost everything on Earth: his friends, ministers, servants, wives, kinsmen, armies, and treasures, due to the time difference, and he should marry off his daughter soon as Kali Yuga, an era of spiritual decline, was approaching. Kakudmi was bewildered and alarmed by this news, but Lord Brahma assured him that the Yuga of Krishna had started, and Vishnu, in the form of Krishna, was present on Earth. He advised Kakudmi to marry his daughter to Lord Krishna's elder brother Balarama, the avatar of Sheshnag. He was the perfect match for Revti. Kakudmi and Revti returned to Earth, thinking they'd been away only a short while. However, they were shocked by the changes that had occurred. Not only had the landscape and environment transformed, but human society had regressed in their absence. Mankind was less developed both physically and intellectually than during their time. Kakudmi's capital, Kushastali, had been renamed Dwarka. They approached Balarama with a proposal for Revti's hand in marriage, and the wedding was celebrated. Revti and Balarama had two sons, Nishata and Ulmuka.
Even if this trip didn't last long, when Kakudmi returned back to Earth, 108 yugas had passed on Earth, and it is thought that each yuga represents about 4 million years. The explanation Brahma gave to Kakudumi is that time runs differently in different planes of existence. To that teleportation, one of the more concept. Teletransportation is the theoretical transfer of matter or energy from one part to another without traversing the physical space between them. Teleportation was used by a Saint Narad, who is devotee to Lord Vishnu and messenger to all gods. Saint Narad has a veena in his hand and spreads teaching of gods around the world. He just says Lord Vishnu name twice and gets teleported in less than a fraction of a second. Scientists also agree that teleportation is possible and it is based on the phenomenon of transferring our body into series of waves and transferring that waves from one place to another without any physical contact. Do you have any any insight on that one?
So not only that, he used to travel from one place to another, like just like in a flick of a second, but then his information also used to travel from one place to another place. Like he used to say Vishnu, Vishnu, and then he used to reach from one place to another place, which is not possible again in today's world. It's like, of course, the researchers, the scientists are working on it, but during those times, he was. I'll just talk about medicine. So, India has a rich intellectual and also a textual heritage that dates back to several hundred of years. India culminates one of the largest collections of medical manuscripts of any civilization in this world. The different types of manuscripts in the ISM, that is the Indian System of Medicine, includes the Ayurvedic medicine. And this is among the oldest medical systems in the world dating back to the Vedic period. That's like 5000 BC. The term Ayurveda translates as life knowledge or life science, and it is a practice of holistic healing which incorporates standard medical knowledge with spiritual concepts and herbal remedies in treatment as well as the prevention of diseases. The original concept of Ayurveda in its entirety is essentially linked to Dhanvantri, as I mentioned earlier, who is the god of Hindu medicine. In fact, the great grandson of Dhanvantri was also known as Dhanvantri. And these luminaries like Dhanvantri and Shushruta stand out as trailblazers in shaping Ayurveda, the ancient Indian medical system. Ayurveda, translating to knowledge of life, has persisted through the ages, passing down its holistic wisdom from generation to generation. Ayurveda that is spread all over India since antiquity. A group of historians and antiquarians have concluded that India was the birthplace of medicine and surgery. Yeah, you heard me right. Surgery. We just talk about like in ancient times only Ayurvedic medicine was there, but there used to be surgeries also. And the most learned and
Shushruta did
trust.
there's Rishi Shushruta, he did plastic surgery.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So they had surgery also, and the manuscripts tells us about that. So the most learned and trustworthy authority, Shizul, one in the history of medicine, strongly took this stand. Dr. Wise, too, in his contemporary on Hindu system of medicine, published in 1845, and in his review of the history medicine, published in 1867, which was concluded.
Mm-hmm.
In 1837, Dr. Royal III of King's College, London, combined all the information available with the original researchers of his own in his celebrated essay, which was known as The Antiquity of Hindu Medicine, and concluded that Hindus were the originators of medical science. After an impartial and lifelong study of history of medicine, Dr. Wise says, it is to the Hindus that we owe the first system of medicine. Medical science in Sanskrit is called Ayurveda or the science of life. And I would just tell you one small thing wherein uh, Mukhopadhyay, in his study of surgical instruments of Hindus, have shown that we had not less than 127 surgical instruments, which
Mm-hmm.
is described by Shushruta. Surgical operations were divided into like many branches, as we know today also. So there, the words which have been used in manuscripts in English, if you see today, it stands the same. I'll just name a few words like chedana, which means the incision, cut, Bhedana, which means the cutting, Lekhana, which means the division or the excision, Vyadhana, which means the scarification or inoculation, Esham, which means puncturing, Aharya, which means probing and sounding, Vishravana, which means the extraction of solid bodies and extraction of fluids. And last but not the least, Sevana, which means stitching. Like surgery, after the surgery, the stitching happens. And today we talk about like perishable stitches and all. But of course, few years back we had those stitches which had to be like removed. So the manuscripts mention all these words in them. So that means in during those ancient times also the surgery used to be conducted by the medical practitioners or the doctors. So, of course, despite the advent of modern science and scientific breakthroughs in healthcare, Ayurveda's ancient wisdom has retained its value and relevance. This holistic healing system, grounded in the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit, resonates with the people seeking alternative and complementary therapies for maintaining health and treating ailments. And I'll just tell one small example, like what happened. Like, of course, we have a lot of manuscripts. As I have been mentioning right from the beginning, uh, the NMM, that is the National Mission of Manuscripts, say that only 10% of the manuscripts which we have has been published. Rest 90% is yet to be published. So we can just imagine, which is like missing what was there. And in 2013, uh, an American conglomerate claimed the patent over turmeric's use as a medicinal remedy as their invention. Though we know that turmeric is used in every household in India. And just because we had written in the manuscripts, that is the reason we won the battle. We won the legal battle over the turmeric patent because we had our ancient texts to provide evidence of India's discovery of turmeric's medicinal properties. And right now there is another conflict going on the neem also. So that was like all these things were being used that time also.
Like to touch upon something on yoga?
uh, as being practiced by every individual, whether it is in India, whether it is outside India, and it is considered to be one of the holistic healing, not only healing of the mind, but the body and the soul. Because they say that when you start practicing yoga, your mind is at peace, your body, because it is majorly yoga is about what we know is like it's a breathing thing, wherein every exercise what you do is like you have to the inhalation and exhalation of the has to be controlled, and that's how you control your body also. Once your body is controlled, your mind is controlled, and you have a fit life and a healthy life to live in. So it is said that yoga has to be practiced. There are a lot of yoga gurus in India, and of course outside India, who are practicing yoga and insist upon like every individual should practice yoga. So as a stereological path, yoga is first named and emphasized in Upanishads associated with the Krishna Black Yajurveda, that is the KYV. So yoga also was there during those ancient times,
All
and it
right.
was practiced by everyone. And I suggest we both should also practice yoga on a daily basis.
No, I had a very good guest. I had done some yoga episode on yoga and meditation. So,
Oh yeah, I had seen.
And
Okay,
yes,
that's very
I
nice.
do yoga and meditation. Like whenever I get time, I do it. Like I try to do it in the morning. Sometimes I'm very busy, then I cannot do. But if I have some time, I try to do yoga and meditation.
Okay, that's very nice.
So, before I let you go, do you have anything, any concluding thoughts for my channel?
Yeah, of course. So you know that if we notice that even after having all the advancements of technology, methodology, etc., in all the civilizations, what we know or whatever we have read about, we reached the destruction of the world of that time. We lost everything. People lost their lives in wars. Technologies were destroyed. All the cultures and traditions were demolished. And we went back to zero position, of course, to have a new start again. And again, we acquired knowledge, work hard, and then a level increases. This is a vicious cycle of life which is continuous, and we feel that we have an advanced technology. At last, I would just like to say that people should not uh, be too dependent on technology. Human interaction, human touch is very essential. I had read it somewhere, uh, and I would just like to put it here that I believe that every creation is pre existing. Just hear it again. I believe that every creation is pre existing. We are just reinventing or regenerating all those things, being unaware of the previous innovations as from earlier times. We have manuscripts, but those processes were omitted. Hence, in the present time, we feel that we are the most advanced. That's
Okay.
all what I have to say.
All
Technology.
right. Thank you for joining the Admin Show. Namaste. Bye.
Thank you. Namaste. And a very good evening and good night to everybody. Thank you so much.